What will Josh McDaniel and Dave Ziegler say to Colin Kaepernick if they get down to signing him? And I have no idea whether they're going to sign him or not. But what will they say to him? Hey, look, we need you to be a football player. We don't need all the other stuff that kind of is going to go along with it. The national interviews every night, everything, all of the protesting during the year, whatever it would be. And in my opinion, that before the Raiders or anybody would have to discuss them, that is probably what is going to be raised. Because I just think that, especially for a guy who's probably going to be a backup quarterback for you, having to answer a lot of questions about what happens to him away from the facility all year long is a bridge too far for any coach.
I always get a little concerned when the narrative becomes distractions, and we don't want distractions because that word can easily be manipulated and applied to justify not doing business with someone we just don't want to do business with. Michael Sam, 2014, going to be a distraction. There were some prominent voices who gave credence to that notion. We don't want to deal with the distraction. Well, do you not want to deal with the distraction, or do you not want to deal with the guy? It's easy to say we don't want the distraction. And, Peter, I think it's more than just the short-term bump in interest in the team, which would come. And that's good, too. The other side of it is you're going to make a crap load of money selling Colin Kaepernick silver and black 7 jerseys. 7, by the way, available on the Raiders roster. No deal needs to be done to put Kaepernick in 7. Can you imagine how many Raiders jerseys with Kaepernick's name on the back would sell? So there's a good side to this, too. And that brings me back to a point that I want to make. I think I mentioned this yesterday with Rich Eisen. I mentioned it yesterday on this show. But remember this, and this is some of the evidence that came to light during the Colin Kaepernick collusion grievance. It was done through a private arbitration process, not the secret rigged kangaroo court that the commissioner likes to use when a coach makes a claim or a former coach, but the players have a system as part of their labor deal that they have to use. So we don't get much by way of transparency. But one thing that I was made aware of during this time, the NFL did studies, focus groups, polling about Colin Kaepernick. And you had a minority of folks who were extremely anti-Kaepernick and an equal minority of folks who were extremely pro-Kaepernick. And the NFL decided strategically to defer to the 30% or so that were anti-Kaepernick because they feared what those people could do to the business. That loud minority that would huff and puff and kind of blow the house down. 2016, 2017, the numbers did take a hit. Now, was it because people were so engaged in politics because it was this brave, new, crazy-ass world of Donald Trump? I don't know. But the numbers did get affected during the presidential campaign of 2016 and into 2017. And to the extent the national anthem controversy, Peter, was responsible for that, they don't want to go back there. And that's where I say this is more than just the first couple of weeks, because you know what? If he's on the team, that's going to happen again, potentially. What are you going to do, Colin, when we show up for the first preseason game? What are you going to do for the first regular season game, the primetime game? This game, that game. Are you going to be standing? Are you going to be kneeling? Are you going to be sitting? Are you even going to be on the sidelines? What are we going to do here? We probably need to talk about this at some point, because you know what it's going to do, Peter? It is going to resurrect a 5-year-old controversy that plenty of people in the league do not want coming back, starting with the guy that told you within the past couple of weeks, everything that happens is good no matter how bad it is. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. The water's edge of all controversy is good controversy is the anthem controversy. There are going to be people who do not want that back in the NFL. They do not want to go down that road again.
Yeah, but I would bet a lot of money that there would be some accommodation reached. I don't know what it would be. But when I say accommodation, I mean that I would bet that before they signed him, they would know exactly what Colin Kaepernick's intentions were. And if his intentions are to kneel, then the Raiders would have to decide whether that is a non-starter for them. I think more likely Just a gut feeling.
It makes me uncomfortable, Peter. As a recovering lawyer, that makes me very uncomfortable. They should not ask him those questions. That would be in the bucket of things that thou shalt not ask. You know, there's been some reporting in recent months about things the NFL is doing to make the people better sensitive to what you can and can't say to a guy at the scouting combine. And when we accept as true, because, folks, it is true, that the rules allow players to protest during the national anthem, the NFL badly conceived its rule. If the NFL was trying to avoid this, it badly conceived the rule that requires players to be present on the sidelines, but says nothing about thou shalt stand. So he's within his rights to kneel during the anthem, fully within his rights. So why are you asking me questions about what I plan to do? It just makes me very nervous because I think it's wrong. I think it is a prima facie violation of the rules for a team to even ask him, by the way, before we put this piece of paper in front of you that you will sign your name to, that will put you under contract with the team, we just like to know, what are you going to be doing when they fire up the Star-Spangled Banner? We just like to know before we go any farther. I think that it's a violation of the rules to even ask that question.
Well, here's my question then for you, Mike. Here's my question. If you entered into this without asking any questions to Colin Kaepernick, like, what are you going to do during the anthem? We just want to know. And also, what are you going to do on Tuesdays? What are you going to do on your off time?
It's my day off. It's none of your damn business. It's my day off.
Well,
leave me alone. You don't want me to play football or you don't.
Hold on a minute. But the question becomes with Colin Kaepernick that, you know, if he's going to be an activist during the season, I'm just telling you, that is one of the reasons why a lot of teams are not interested in signing him. Why can't you simply ask him that question? Just say, listen, you're going to be a backup quarterback. You know, and if you are going to be doing national interviews about whatever, which I doubt he will do, and if you're going to be out doing a lot of things that are going to bring attention to this team, I think, you know, and look, you can call it whatever you want to call it, Mike. I'm just simply stating a fact about what has drawn a lot of teams away from the prospect of wanting to sign Colin Kaepernick. And you know that that's true.
When he sat for an interview with the I Am Athlete podcast in April, they did a role-playing scenario. Brandon Marshall did a good job of pretending to be a GM and saying to Colin Kaepernick, what about our fan base? What do we say to our fan base as it relates to Kaepernick's activism? And his response was, you have end racism in the back of your end zone. You have Black Lives Matters on your helmet. Everything I've said should be in alignment with what you're saying publicly. And that's what I keep coming back to. It's not like he's going to all of a sudden go out and spend Tuesdays advocating satanic worship. He is going to continue to do the things that he's been doing in plain sight for more than 5 years. The Know Your Rights camp, which educates systematically. And it's so weird. There's this misconception among guys like Pac-Man Jones. And who else jumped in on it? Antonio Brown, that font of reason and logic and reliability and good works for the community, questioning what Colin Kaepernick has done. Well, pay attention. Google it. Colin Kaepernick has done plenty. The things he's done, the things he says, the way he lives his life is in harmony with the gigantic letters that are at the back of the end zone and the messages that we see every time they cut to a close-up of a guy walking back to the huddle. Black Lives Matter, end racism, stop hate. Everything the NFL says it's for is exactly what he's pushing. So again, Peter, I ask you, why should anyone care? They should be standing up and applauding Colin Kaepernick for bringing to life the slogans that they've slapped over everything they can.
You're absolutely right, Mike. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I think that it is brave and borderline heroic that he keeps doing it. My question to you is, what is an NFL team going to think if they have a backup quarterback who's, and again, I'm not saying that any of this is wrong at all. I'm just saying this is a big reason why NFL teams have steered away from him. They want their players to play football during the season, okay? But I'll just say one other thing about everything that he said on that podcast. I think it is utterly correct and absolutely true and very, very well said. And I go back to the time in 2013 when I took a 2-hour car ride back and forth to his high school in Turlock, California, from the Bay Area, where he was going to be recognized at his high school graduation. And the one thing that really stood out to me is that if you sit there and talk to Colin Kaepernick for 2 hours, there is very little that he says that you say, man, that's wrong, or that's crazy, because it isn't. He's not saying anything that's crazy. He's not saying anything that's wrong. And other than several things over the years that he's done that are, we can talk about it in different ways. We can discuss about the pig socks that he wore to practice. And I totally, totally get that. The problem is, Mike, the question is, when you are in the middle of a football season, is this really what you want out of a player on your team, who, especially a player who is not playing very much, probably? That's the only thing that I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's wrong in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying that you know how people in the NFL think, and you know how the general managers and coaches in the NFL think. That's one of the reasons why I believe that whether they ever ask the question or not, maybe the legal counsel of the Raiders will say, you can't ask him any questions like that, so don't do it. And I don't know whether they're going to do that. But whatever is done, you've got to know that that is an issue among many teams in the NFL.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.